They don't tell you this, but the real reason you can't sleep at night has nothing to do with your bed, your phone, or your bad routine. It's because nighttime exposes you. During the day, your mind hides behind noise, notifications, conversations, scrolling, pretending, performing. But at night, the world falls silent and your thoughts finally have enough space to speak. And for people like you, people who think too much, the silence feels dangerous. It starts slowly. One thought, then another, then a chain reaction of mental spirals that drag you into memories you forgot, fears you ignored, and possibilities you aren't ready to face. Most people fall asleep in minutes, but thinkers, they enter a private psychological battleground. You know this feeling too well. You lie down, exhausted. Your body begs for rest, but the moment your head touches the pillow, a hidden switch in your mind flips on. Suddenly, you're replaying conversations from 3 years ago, re-evaluating decisions you made last week, planning your entire future at 3:07 a.m., as if the universe is waiting for you to solve everything before sunrise. Why? Because nighttime is the only time your mind believes it's safe, enough to process the things you run from. Overthinkers aren't weak. They're people whose minds refuse to shut down until every problem, every fear, every unanswered question is analyzed from every possible angle. You don't rest at night. You relive. You rewrite. You re-experience. You try to fix things that aren't even broken, just imagined. And here's the dark psychological truth. People who can't stop thinking at night are almost always carrying emotional weight they haven't learned to put down. It's not insomnia. It's not too much energy. It's not just stress. It's unfinished emotional business. It's the unspoken things, the unresolved conflicts, the unhealed versions of you that only come out when the world shuts up long enough for you to hear them. Nighttime turns your mind into a magnifying glass. Every fear becomes bigger. Every regret becomes sharper. Every insecurity becomes louder. And because no one is awake to distract you, your thoughts feel like they have unlimited power. But here's what makes people like you different. You don't think at night because you want to. You think at night because your mind refuses to let go of the truths you avoid during the day. You're not lost. You're not broken. You're not overdramatic. You're someone whose mind is constantly searching for meaning, clarity, and control, even at the cost of your sleep. Nighttime doesn't expose your weakness. It exposes your depth. And the people who can't stop thinking at night are often the ones fighting the quietest internal battles no one ever sees. Here's the part nobody ever admits out loud. People who can't stop thinking at night aren't just overthinkers. They're fighters. They are survivors of a mental battlefield that nobody else can see. Because night thinkers don't just have thoughts. They have waves. Waves that crash, pull, twist, and drag every unfinished emotion back to the surface. And what do? They lie there, quietly drowning in their own mind, pretending they're just tired. Let me tell you something uncomfortable, but true. Your night thoughts are not random. They are the parts of you that refuse to die. The regret you pretend doesn't bother you. The insecurity you hide under jokes. The fear you silence with music. The longing you've buried so deep you almost convinced yourself it doesn't exist. At night they all wake up. Because nighttime is the only place where your distractions can't save you. There's no noise, no people, no tasks, no responsibilities. Just you and the truth. And for many people, that truth is terrifying. But here's the deeper psychology. Night thinkers don't fear the world. They fear their own potential. The reason your mind races isn't because you're weak. It's because you haven't learned how powerful you actually are. Your brain knows you're meant for more. It knows you want to change your life. It knows you're capable of a version of yourself that would shock the people around you. But potential is scary. It demands risk. It demands losses. It demands transformation. So instead of evolving, your mind keeps you awake, replaying the same loops. Why did I say that? What if I fail? Why does my life feel stuck? What if I never figure it out? Those loops are not punishment. They are warnings, signals, alarms going off inside your soul saying, wake up. Something in your life is wrong, and you can't ignore it anymore. And the longer you ignore those alarms, the louder they become. But the tragic thing is this: most people don't listen. They try to escape the thoughts, scroll their phone until their eyes burn, turn on a video just to drown the silence, pretend they're fine even as their mind screams through the walls of their skull. Here's the psychological twist: your mind overthinks at night because that's when you're finally honest. Not polite, not agreeable, not fine, not the version of you that plays a role during the day. At night, you become the real you, raw, unfiltered, brutally aware. And that version of you is starving. Starving for clarity, starving for peace, starving for courage, starving for a life that doesn't feel like you're sleepwalking through it. So when your brain won't shut off, it's not malfunctioning. It's fighting for you. It's begging you to confront the conversations you avoid in daylight. The question is, will you listen? Or will you keep running from the person you're meant to become? Here's the truth almost nobody is brave enough to admit. People who can't stop thinking at night aren't overthinkers, they're overfeelers. Their mind doesn't race because it's broken. It races because it's protecting them from the things they refuse to say out loud, from the emotions they swallowed years ago, from the versions of themselves they never got to be. Night isn't the problem. Night is just the first moment the world finally shuts up long enough for your real thoughts to speak. And when they do, they speak loudly. They speak about the friendships you outgrew but never grieved. They speak about the mistakes you pretend don't bother you anymore. They speak about the dreams you quietly buried because someone convinced you they were unrealistic. And the darker it gets outside, the more honest your mind becomes. Because here's the psychological core of it: your brain does not speed up at night. It finally stops running from itself. All day, you're distracted, scrolling, working, laughing on command, nodding at conversations you don't care about, pretending you're fine. Humans are masters of emotional avoidance, but night removes all the hiding places. That's why overthinking feels different at 2 a.m. It becomes less like thinking and more like remembering. Memories you didn't choose, images you didn't ask for, feelings you thought you outgrew. And the more you try to shut them off, the louder they push back. Because the mind has one rule: anything you refuse to face during the day will demand to be heard in the dark. That's why people who can't stop thinking at night often share the same psychological patterns. They grew up being the responsible one. They were praised for holding everything together. They learned early that their feelings were too much. They became adults who internalize instead of express. They fear being a burden more than they fear being misunderstood. So what happens? Night becomes their only emotional outlet. The time when nobody needs them, nobody interrupts them, nobody judges them. But the cost is heavy. Your mind turns into a battlefield exactly when your body needs rest. Your thoughts twist into hypotheticals. What if I fail? What if I'm not enough? What if they leave? What if I wasted years of my life? Your imagination becomes sharper than your reality. Your fears grow louder than your logic. Your doubts multiply faster than your confidence. And the worst part, you start to believe the voice that only wakes up when the world goes to sleep. Because nighttime thoughts don't feel like thoughts. They feel like truth. But they aren't. They're just the emotions you never learned to process in daylight, finally clawing their way to the surface. And if you understand that, you unlock the first key to breaking the cycle. Not everything your mind says at night is real. Not every fear deserves your attention. Not every memory is trying to hurt you. Some thoughts appear at night not to torment you but to tell you what still needs healing. There's something you need to understand about people who can't stop thinking at night. They live two different lives. There is the life everyone sees and the life they return to after midnight. During the day, they move through the world like functioning adults. They answer messages, smile politely, nod during conversations, pretend they're fine. They look normal enough that no one suspects anything. But when the sun goes down, their mind becomes a different universe, a louder universe, a deeper universe, a universe where nothing stays buried. Night thinkers don't have the luxury of silence. They don't get to turn their brain off. They don't get to click out of their thoughts like closing a browser tab. Their mind is like a machine that never stops running. A machine that keeps producing questions, memories, fears, hypotheticals, and scenarios that nobody asked for. And here's the part everyone gets wrong. Night overthinking isn't about fear. It's about clarity. Because in the quiet hours, when the world finally stops moving, they see their life with brutal honesty. No distractions, no noise, no escape. That's why night thoughts feel so intense. During the day, we hide from ourselves. At night, there is nowhere to hide. The people who can't stop thinking at night are often the same people who carry unspoken emotional weight. They are the ones who hold themselves together in front of others but fall apart in silence. They replay conversations, rewrite mistakes, dissect their choices, wonder why they feel so different from everyone else. They think so much because they feel so much. They're the ones who grew up learning to stay alert, hyper-aware, hyper-vigilant, always preparing for something to go wrong. That habit never leaves. So now their brain keeps scanning, reviewing, analyzing even when nothing is wrong. It's not a flaw. It's a survival pattern. But here's the dark twist. The same mind that once protected them now exhausts them. Because overthinking at night traps them in a cycle. They can't fall asleep because their mind won't shut up. They can't think clearly during the day because they didn't sleep. And they can't break the pattern because nighttime is the only time they are finally alone with their true self. Night thinkers don't fear the dark. They fear what their own mind does in it. But the truth is deep down, they don't actually want the overthinking to stop. Not completely. Because thinking at night is the only time they feel connected to something real. To their inner world, to their hidden emotions, to the parts of themselves they never show anyone. Nighttime is when they finally meet themselves, even if they don't always like what they find. Here's the truth nobody tells you. People who can't stop thinking at night aren't weak. They aren't broken. They aren't overthinkers in the casual sense. They are the people who carry the weight of everything, the ones who feel deeply, notice too much, question everything, and refuse to live on autopilot. And because the world is too loud during the day, night becomes the only place where their real mind wakes up. But this final part is about something deeper. How to reclaim your nights, your peace, and your sense of self without killing the part of you that cares. The night mind is not your enemy when your thoughts explode at 2 a.m. It doesn't mean your brain hates you. It means your brain feels safe for the first time all day. There's no mask at night. No pressure. No noise. That's why nighttime thoughts feel more intense. They're the thoughts you've shoved down for hours, weeks, or even years. You're not overthinking. You're finally thinking. And that's why shutting it off feels impossible. Your brain is trying to catch up on everything you forced it to ignore. The real pain. Your life doesn't match your mind. Most people who can't stop thinking at night share one truth. Their daytime self and their nighttime self are not the same person. Day, you act. You perform. You function. Night, you actually feel. And the gap between those two identities becomes unbearable. That gap is where the insomnia grows. That gap is where the anxiety lives. That gap is where the loneliness hides. Because the mind that appears at night is the version of you that never gets to exist in the daylight. The secret fear. What if I never feel peace? Night thinkers have one hidden terror, that their mind will always outrun them. They fear that no matter how successful, loved, or stable they appear, they will always feel like someone living two lives. The one they show, the one they think. And here's the twist. You can't fix this by forcing silence. You fix it by creating a life where your nighttime thoughts don't contradict your daytime reality. Night overthinking is not a curse. It's a message. A message that something in your real life is misaligned. A relationship. A dream. A fear. A suppressed identity. A truth you've been avoiding. A version of yourself you abandoned. Your mind is screaming because you stopped listening while the sun was up. The final refrain. Night thinkers are built different. People who think too much at night are not fragile, they're wired for depth. They feel deeply. They analyze patterns others don't see. They carry emotional intelligence that is both a gift and a burden. They have a mind that refuses to let life slip through their fingers, but that power becomes pain when the world around them doesn't match the world inside them. Your thoughts don't want to destroy you. They want to free you. And the moment you stop treating your night mind like a monster and start treating it like a compass, everything changes. Because your overthinking isn't random. It's direction. It's truth. It's the real you, begging to be heard. Final word: if you can't stop thinking at night, it means one thing. There is a version of your life waiting for you that finally feels like yours. A life where you don't have to hide. A life where you don't have to pretend. A life where your mind is not at war with your reality. Night is not your enemy. It's your invitation. And the moment you answer it, you stop overthinking and start becoming.